everybody. Welcome to the 19th episode of YLC Chats. Today we have another exciting episode with Andrew Harbaugh from King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Dana, do you want to ask the first couple of questions?
Of course.
Awesome.
So how did you become involved in Best Buddies?
Hi, everyone. It's nice to be with you and these famous YLC chats. I feel so honored. So how did I get involved with Best Buddies, Dana? That is a great question. I've thought a lot about this because, of course, I know how, but it's interesting as like the longer I'm more involved, the more interesting it seems to become because it's obviously so rooted in one small thing. So I joined Best Buddies in college, actually, when I was at a small Catholic college called Gwinnett Mercy University, and it's in Pennsylvania. So all my Pennsylvania peeps know we're right outside of Philadelphia. And I just attended a chapter event. And, little did I know that I was walking into what would be, I hope, the rest of my life. So I attended an event and I met who's currently my buddy, Lisa, and she just drew me in with her passion and her kindness and her empathy. And we still talk every week. Actually, I was supposed to call her an hour ago, so I'll call her. Just somebody who, has totally changed my perspective on the IDD community. And at the time, we didn't have a president at our chapter. So I offered to step up and things just kind of grew from there. I got involved with our state leadership team. And I don't know about you guys, but I fell in love truly with Best Buddies when I went to BBLC. So I went and it was the This Is Me conference, just from The Greatest Showman. And I just, you too? You too, Margot? Okay. And, what was so fascinating about it was I felt like I was truly accepted for the first time. I was in this room, this auditorium full of people who believed the same thing, right? Like, I believe in inclusion for people with disabilities. I grew up with it. My dad has a disability, so that was something that was so, ingrained in my family. And to now be in this field, I just couldn't anticipate, doing anything else right now and with my life. So, to say I got involved started with one simple day, and it just, growing to there, I did an internship with our Philly office, and then I walked right into the PM role from there. Thankfully, the position was open at the time, and I just fell in love with the Pennsylvania and now Delaware community.
What is your current role within Best Buddies, and what do you do in that role?
Just like you, Dana, I work on a programs team, and my role is the program manager of mission expansion. So I have to say, I kind of have one of the best jobs on the team. I'm very lucky because my role is all about expanding our mission, about growth, right? So it started out, I actually had a small caseload of schools as well as overseeing our citizens program. And we have obviously schools from elementary through college. And now I've actually kind of morphed into my role more primarily taking on a citizens role. So Citizens is our adult friendship program for individuals who are 18 years and older. Hello to all my citizens friends and participants. It's truly quite amazing what our team has been able to do with the program since I started in late 2019, but officially early 2020. And my role day to day is actually overseeing our citizens program, as well as any of our state events like our friendship walk and our champion of the year event. Of course, it's all hands on deck. And Best Buddies is all about being a team. The only way we're going to accomplish our mission is by empowering our volunteers and working together. It's not about me, it's about all of us. So I love that in a way, because my job's not all about promoting myself. It's about empowering the individuals we serve. So I find that to be the most important thing in my role. If I talk to 10 buddies in a week, or if I tell somebody about Best Buddies who hasn't heard it before, like, I feel like in a way, I feel like I can earn my paycheck. Maybe, is that a good way to put it?
And what is your favorite thing about Best Buddies?
Oh, that's hard. The gut answer, which I feel like you would want everyone to say, is the individual who's serving. That's so true. But even more than that, my favorite thing about Best Buddies is the impact we make. So, I was writing something down. I was an English major in college, so I'm a big writer. And Dana, and I was writing down just, my thoughts and my feelings about where I am in my life. And I'm so blessed, of course, but I really love the impact that we can make. It's so interesting. One email that we send, one newsletter I publish, one conversation or Zoom meeting I have, not to mention chapter meeting we host, event we host, can really make an impact. And that I always tell the students that I work with, you never know the value of a moment until it's gone. So sometimes when we're hosting events and people feel really empowered by it or inspired or just included, like that type of work, that type of like mark we make on someone's day, that's my favorite part. Like when you leave a meeting and you're just like, oh my gosh, I did something so cool today, and like you tell someone about it, you know what I mean? Like, and they of course like appreciate it, but they weren't there, so they don't always know. So that's when you have to get them to come, of course. But it's just when I was in a chapter president, I used to like go home and I just couldn't do anything else after a chapter meeting. I was just so like overcome. But anyway, I'm sorry, I get off topic often, but I just want to say, like, my favorite thing about Best Buddies, it would have to be the impact we can make. And I just am so grateful to our volunteers who are doing it every day. And now as staff, I feel like it's our job to train them and to help them feel that same thing.
Why do you think the Best Buddies mission is so important?
I think it's so important because Best Buddies is needed now more than ever. And I think I've noticed this when I'm talking to individuals and citizens, and I talk to them and they talk about how isolated they are. They talk about how, for example, this one individual I was talking about, he lives in a very rural part of Pennsylvania, and his mom told me that they fear weekends. They fear the weekend coming. Now, for many, the weekend is something that we cherish. We relish. We're like, oh yay, it's the weekend. And, but for some individuals, that social isolation that they might face from a loss of program or work is something they fear. And when I heard that, I was surprised. It took me back. And he's just one example of somebody who really is in need of a program have that social support, not being surrounded by paid staff, being surrounded by true, meaningful, authentic friendship. So I think why Best Buddies is so important is so we can end situations like that, so we can create a more inclusive society where there is, if you do not want to be home, now there are some people who want to be home, but if you don't want to be home, that you have that option to get involved and to be a part of a club like Best Buddies in a college or on a citizens program where you have the opportunity to just be a part of this group, or somebody who cares about you or wants to check in or hear about, your speech that you did at BBLC, or, the funny conversation you had, or I'm all about the little things. So, I want to hear everything, but with my friends, but I think hearing every day from our participants reminds me like why our mission is so important. And I'm glad to hear, the good and bad of it every day.
What are some changes you would like to see in our country in regards to inclusion?
Yeah, thank you for that. In terms of our country, I think, it's such a bold, futuristic question. I like that because, we're all have to remind ourselves sometimes that Best Buddies hits more than just our local community, that we're an international organization. And to think about, our inclusion movement in the country is often something, I want to spend time on. So for me, if I could change it, I would love to see, more advocacy and kindness shown towards the community that we serve. And I definitely would love to be a part of any of that. And I think definitely when we could do more in-person things, and even now though, there's lots you can do virtually, of course, but definitely just more kindness and patience. I've often, when we're talking to or serving, especially in getting people involved in our programs, maybe we're the exception. We're treating people exceptionally with kindness or giving them the patience or the help they need to get involved. But unfortunately, not everyone's like that. So I think that I would love to see that similar mindset of kindness and acceptance and patience shown in the job market, in our communities, and just in social conversations. A little side note about me is I also have a roommate who has a disability. And for him, I see him every day, interacting with the community when we're out and doing things. And I often, I often want to speak for him, but then I realize he's his own advocate, and he is. Trust me, he'll tell you. But and I want him to, not get the rolling of the eyes or the looks that he gets sometimes. But then again, it starts with one person, one chapter at a time, I think, to get there.
So how have you stayed connected with your colleagues and the Best Buddies community during COVID?
Yeah, thanks, Dana. I think you could probably speak to this one too, because we're both working from home. But gratefully, we with a small team that we have, we do get to go into the office a little bit here and there safely, of course. And so staying connected through COVID, oh my gosh, my colleagues have been my rock. I definitely want to give a shout out to Millie and Marissa, who's our local Philly team, as well as Sam and Hillary, who's makes up our Pennsylvania, and Susan in Delaware, because I think together we're working towards growing our presence in this region, as well as, keeping each other sane. Our staff meetings, we've often done these deep dive questions, and I've really grown to enjoy those moments where we just talk about, outside of what we're doing for our work, how we are all in the similar situation where we can't, make these plans that we want to make, or, take our traveling, opportunities when we want to. So, I think that we have a lot of different blessings, of course, and we're grateful to be able to work from home safely, especially because there's so many people who are on the front lines every day, doing, everything they can so we can do this. But in a way, I definitely think having their support and constant engagement. We're all on Teams and, different things outside of meetings, and that's been a huge support.
What are some of your goals for best buddies in your state in the future?
Oh, in the future, well, that's a long list. So it's for your time. I would say for Pennsylvania, I would love to definitely see us grow into different regions that we're not in. I know for us, it's a big goal to get more into the city of Philadelphia, and I know we're already working towards that, and we're already working more towards, diversifying our programs and going and removing barriers. It's a big goal of our team to really work on that, so there's not as much of a barrier to access, maybe in lower income areas. But at the same time, I think, in the future, I would also love to see we have more volunteers and more engagement. I think it's really hard. We ask a lot of our students and volunteers, and we're always grateful, but we also know that sometimes it's really easy to put things aside and do different things. And I would love to find more and learn about more ways that we can be more engaging, and for our volunteers to feel more connected to the mission, so we can continue to grow, because that sometimes is a barrier to growing into bigger areas, or to for certain chapters that are struggling right now, I think. But I think our chapters are doing quite well, considering.
Thank you so much for being on. We're so happy you could be here and hear everything you had to say. And we always love hearing people from different states, as many states as we can get. So we're really happy you could be here representing Pennsylvania and Delaware. And we'll link their social media in the description below. This has been the 19th episode of YLC Chats. And make sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos coming soon. Bye, everybody.